Today we're going to start with the reading section, lesson 1. And what's going to happen today is I'm going to go through the lesson here. And then I will go through a sample passage. All right. Okay, so first we're going to talk about just the reading section in general. There are the major changes in the new SAT are that now all of the questions are passage-based, which means that there are no more sentence completions to worry about. The types of subjects each passage covers are the same in all tests. So they're really standardizing everything, and they're making sure that they're trying to focus more on reading comprehension rather than just isolated sentence completions. They don't want students to be learning like useless vocabulary words. So everything will now be in the context of a sentence in a passage. Okay, so the critical reading section will consist of one passage dealing with US and world literature, 2 passages dealing with history and social studies, and 2 passages dealing with science. Now, as you'll be practicing with the practice SAT tests, you will be able to figure out what kind of passages are easiest for you, and you probably want to do those first if you're finding you don't have enough time to complete all of the passages. For the science passages, there are data interpretation questions, and you will have to analyze charts and graphs. So basically, you don't actually need any scientific background coming into this. You'll just be reading passages about science, and you can answer questions from the passage, just as usual. Okay, so now let's look at some general approaches to the reading section. 1. Skim over the questions and plot them accordingly next to the line in the passage. These questions will specify where you can find them in the passage. Plotting questions will allow you to focus your attention to portions of the passage where you find important information for answering questions. Underline any vocabulary that is mentioned in the questions. 2. Read over the passage carefully, underlining key information that helps you understand the passage's tone and main ideas. Box proper nouns, dates, and time indicators. Give me just a second so I can share this with the class. All right. Now we can continue on. Okay. So then, yes, read over the passage carefully, underlining key information that helps you understand the passage's tone and main ideas. Box proper nouns, dates, and time indicators. These will help you to answer the question as you come back to it. 3, as you come across plotted questions, read 2 sentences above and below the plotted area, then answer the related question. You want to read sentences above and below to make sure you're getting the proper context for answering the question, and it'll make it a lot easier. Sometimes if you just read the one sentence where you think the answer is, it can give you something misleading. Perhaps there's sarcasm involved or something like that, where the sentence doesn't mean exactly what they're trying to say. Once you finish the passage, begin answering questions that you were not able to answer in your first run through the passage. Save main idea questions for last. Basically what this is trying to say is, main idea questions, well, you're going to have to read the whole passage and pick the main ideas. After going through all the other questions, you should have read through the passage, reread several parts of it, and it should be a lot easier to choose the right answer. 5. Read through each answer choice for each question and underline 2 or 3 words for each choice that seem to sum up the general idea of that answer. Be on the lookout for things that you can eliminate. Underline only what separates the answer choice from the other answer choices. Look for patterns within the answer choices. Do not choose the answer choice that looks right except for one word. It is most likely wrong. Half right is all wrong. So they will try to trick you with an answer that seems correct at first, but you need to look past that and make sure the answer is the correct one, if you know what I mean. I'm just going to quickly see if there's anyone in the chat who needs help. All right, feel free to post any questions in the chat if you need help or have a question to ask. Okay. Again, if it seems like they're trying to trick you, they might be. So read carefully and make sure that every part of an answer choice is correct before you choose it. 6. Any tone shifts within the passage will be reflected by the first and last sentences / paragraphs. If you are confused by any tone shifts that occur within the passage, referring back to the first and last sentences or even the first and last paragraphs can help you regain your bearing. 7. Try and pace yourself through the new SAT. The entire reading section, around 53 questions, is an hour long, so you have about 1.25 minutes for each question. So if you weren't planning to already, it's a good idea to bring a watch with you, just so you can make sure you stay on track with your timing. Alright, so now we're getting into some tips for answering questions, and yeah. Read the entirety of each answer choice. Answer choices must be 100% correct to be the right answer. Even if half of it is true, if the rest of it isn't, it's still incorrect. Remember this. They will try to trick you. There might be one that seems to be right, except for one aspect of it that will be the wrong answer. Look for words and answer choices that make it more likely to be incorrect. These include absolute language, such as all, never, every, none, only, must, etc. Extreme language, derision, defile, euphoric, global, veneration, disparage, etc. Intensifying language, too, more, extremely, seldom, most, etc. Things like absolute language, unless it says in the passage that, like, say no birds eat a particular berry, don't assume that this is what the author means. Watch out for correct information that doesn't answer the particular question. Make sure the answer choice, oh goodness, make sure the answer choice only pertains to the section of the passage that the question specifies. Correct answer choices that address the wrong section of the passage are wrong answer choices. So remember that questions will go in chronological order. So if you've already passed a section, the answer for the next question is probably not going to come from a place before that question, if you know what I'm saying. Answer choices that match your opinion but don't answer the question are incorrect. Make sure not to bring your personal opinion or past knowledge into the reading section. Everything should come from in the passage. You should be able to underline a place that you can point to as evidence for a particular answer. Questions and their answers are often similar. Use these questions to answer the others. For example, if you see different questions with multiple answer choices mentioning the isolationist nature of wolves, they're probably the right ones. When you come across something that makes an answer choice wrong, cross that word and or phrase, then cross out the letter. Then cross out the letter of the answer choice. This helps you show your work and understand why you eliminated an answer. Because sometimes you might say you look at an answer choice and you feel like it's the wrong answer, so you just cross it out. And if it's crossed out, you don't look back on why you chose that. What if you remembered something wrong from the passage, but you don't even consider that answer choice again because you've already crossed it out? Doing this is a safeguard against just blindly ignoring an answer choice because of a misguided preconceived notion. If the question mentions one specific sentence/keyword, look at that sentence and surrounding sentences if necessary. Just make sure you use the proper context. The definitions of words, it's all about context. These words all have multiple meanings depending on where they're used. So you might as well gather as much information as you need. If the question does not specify any lines, leave it for last. In general, you can look at the introduction, topic sentences, and first and last paragraphs. Things like main idea, author's purpose, etc., etc. Answer choices will match the main idea/tone of its specific area. If you are stuck between two, the one that most closely matches what the passage says will be right. Be careful not to let what you know from the passage get mixed up with any prior knowledge you bring to the test or info you inference. Again, just make sure you keep your personal life out of answering the SAT reading section. When deciding between two answer choices, return to the passage and identify any words or phrases that the answer choices share with the passage. If you're stuck on a question that is part of a pair that asks for evidence from the passage, start on the second question and eliminate any answer choices sections of the passage that do not support the first question. Use the remaining answer choices sections of the passage to answer the first question. Yep. There are some pairs of questions in which they'll ask a question in the first one and then ask where you found evidence for that in the second part. You can just look at the second part first and see which of those would support an answer to the first part, and you can answer both of those easily. It's pretty much just giving you evidence and to help you answer that question. When answering main idea and tone questions, mark the tone of each of the answer choices. The answer with tones that do not match that of the passage can be marked out. Vocabulary questions are now strictly from the passage, so when answering vocabulary questions on the new SAT, it is often helpful to read the surrounding sections of the passage to gain context. Yeah, so there's no more of the standalone vocabulary questions on the new SAT. Everything that would be given that you will have to answer will come from the passage. You can use context clues and things like that to help you, and it should make things a lot easier. Okay, now we're going to move on to double long passages. The approach to these is similar to that of other passages, but involves some special steps. 1. Plot the questions in both passages as before. Also, mark which passage each question deals with. Say passage 1, passage 2, or both. Then you read passage 1, underlining and boxing as before, and answering plotted questions as you come across them. 3. Once you finish passage 1, answer all the passage 1 questions. Underline keywords and eliminate answer choices as before. Before you begin passage 2, Look at the answer choices of the both questions. Even without reading passage 2, you can sometimes eliminate answer choices just from what you know from passage 1. Now read passage 2 and answer its related questions. Finish any both questions that are left. Okay. Remember, you can reference this anytime you want. If you, I recommend you just practice. Practice a lot. Practice many passages and reading them and answering questions. Come back to this sheet as often as you need until you ingrain these principles in your mind, and it'll make taking the SAT a lot easier. You won't feel lost. You'll know exactly what to do. Sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes it doesn't even matter what the steps are, just as long as you have a path that you're trying to travel down. Okay, so now here's a list of tips that will make the SAT reading section easier for you. For every 9 reading questions, you have approximately 11 minutes to complete them. For the new SAT, there's no guessing penalty. Never leave any questions blank. This is huge. Before, you would miss you would lose a quarter of a point if you guessed wrong, whereas you would have nothing happen. You would not get a point, or you not lose points. Now, you don't lose points no matter what you choose, so you might as well guess. Eliminate as many answer choices as you can and guess, because it won't hurt you, it can only help you. If you're having trouble deciding between answer choices, try and have what you think the answer is in your head. Match it to whatever answer choice most closely resembles yours. So basically, just answer the question without looking at the answer choices, and then see which one matches. If you find yourself short on time, you can scout out the passages to determine their difficulties. You can then answer them in whatever order works best for you. Don't spend more than a couple minutes scouting and deciding. In general, there will usually be one fiction passage, a couple of nonfiction passages, and one historical document, which is the hardest to digest. So you probably don't want to start with the historical document if you know that you have trouble finishing questions in time. Watch your time. Don't spend a huge amount of time on one question. You can flag the question that's giving you trouble and return to it at the end if you have time. Take many practice tests to gain a feeling on how much time you can spend on hard questions. Every question is worth an equal amount of points, and you would rather spend 5 minutes answering 5 questions than 5 minutes working on one particularly hard question. That question will only give you 1 point, whereas you can more efficiently earn points in using other questions. So come back to it later. If you absolutely don't have time, guess on that question. It'll do you much better than trying to answer it. Okay, so now we are going to go through a passage together where I will demonstrate these tips for you. This is a passage from a practice SAT test. So let's just get started. Right. So, step 1, we are going to plot the questions. Which choice best describes what happens in the passage? I'll just put a WP here for whole passage. And let's go into the second one. Which choice best describes the developmental pattern of the passage? This is another question that will take the whole passage to answer. as used in line 1 and line 65, directly most nearly means. Okay, here we go. It's going to be in line 1 and line 65. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the passage and write 3. This is for question 3. And then it mentions line 65. I'm just going to write a 3 right here. Just so whenever we come back, we can see what we're trying to see. We can pay special attention to these areas because we know that they are going to answer a question. Okay, what reaction does Akira most fear from Chie? Does not mention a specific line. Alrighty. Which choice best provides the evidence for the answer to the previous question? So we can go back here and say number 5, because these are a pair of questions like it said before in the guide. This one asks for evidence to answer the previous question. So if we just look in these areas, then we will find the answer to number 4. In the passage, Akira addresses Chie with whole passage question. The main purpose of the first paragraph, and this is question number 7. I'm just going to write a 7 out here so we can pay special attention and answer that question as we read it. As used in line 2, form most nearly means, alright, line 2, this is question 8. Then we have, why does Akira say that his meeting with Chie is a matter of emergency? Line 32. So we go to line 32. Alright. This is question number 9. We go back. Which choice provides evidence, the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? So we know that if we just go to these places, that we will find the answer to this question. Alright, so we're done with that. Now we read over the passage carefully, underlining key information that helps you understand the passage's tone and main ideas. Box proper nouns, dates, and time indicators. Okay. Akira, proper noun, came directly, breaking all tradition. Was that it? Had he followed form, had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between, would Chie have been more receptive? Chie. Okay, so now we are seeing that questions 3, 7, and 8 have to do with this part of the passage. So let's take a look. Question number 3 references both line 1 and line 65. So we can't answer that yet, but we can underline the word in question directly. Number 7, the main purpose of the first paragraph. Well, we haven't really read the rest of the passage yet, so we can't really tell how it functions throughout the rest of the passage. We'll come back to it afterward. And number 8, as used in line 2, form most nearly means. Well, Okay, so we have the word form right here. What we're going to do is read above and below this sentence to figure out what it means. Akira came directly, breaking all tradition. Was that it? Had he followed form, had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between, would Chie have been more receptive? So, had he followed form, that means he didn't follow form by breaking all tradition. The answer choices are appearance, custom, structure, and nature. Breaking tradition doesn't have to do with appearance, nature, or structure. So tradition is like a custom. So that would be the correct answer here. Now we can move on. He came on a winter's eve. He pounded on the door while a cold rain beat on the shuttered veranda. So at first Chie thought him only the wind. The maid knew better. Chie heard her soft scuttling footsteps, the creak of the door. Then the maid brought a calling card to the drawing room for Chie. Chie was reluctant to go to her guest. Perhaps she was feeling too cozy. She and Naomi were reading at a low table set atop a charcoal brazier. A thick quilt spread over the sides of the table so their legs were tucked inside with the heat. Who is it at this hour, in this weather? Chie questioned as she picked the name card off the maid's lacquer tray. Shinoda Akira, Kobe Dental College, she read. Naomi recognized the name. Chie heard a soft intake of air. I think you should go, said Naomi. Akira was waiting in the entry. He was in his early 20s, slim and serious, wearing the black military-style uniform of a student. He bowed, his hands hanging straight down, a black cap in one, a yellow oil paper umbrella in the other. Chie glanced beyond him. In the glistening surface of the courtyard's rain-drenched paving stones, she saw his reflection like a dark double. Madam, said Akira, forgive my disruption, but I come with a matter of urgency. Okay, so we see that we have question 9. Why does Akira say that his meeting with Chie is a matter of urgency? Well, we don't really know that yet, so I guess we'll keep reading. His voice was soft, refined. He straightened and stole a deferential peek at her face. In the dim light his eyes shone with sincerity. Chie found herself starting to like him. Come inside. Get out of this nasty night. Surely your business can wait a moment or two. I don't want to trouble you. Normally I would approach you more properly, but I've received word of a position. I've an opportunity to go to America as a dentist for Seattle's Japanese community. Alright, so this is a potential answer. He doesn't really have time because he's received word of a position. We'll keep that in mind. Congratulations, Chie said with amusement. That is an opportunity, I'm sure, but how am I involved? Even noting Naomi's breathless reaction to the name card, Chie had no idea. Akira's message, delivered like a formal speech, filled her with maternal amusement. You know how children speak so earnestly, so hurriedly, so endearingly about things that have no importance in an adult's mind? That's how she viewed him as a child. Alright. It was how she viewed Naomi. Even though Naomi was 18 and training endlessly in the arts needed to make a good marriage, Chie had made no effort to find her a husband. Akira blushed. Depending on your response, I may stay in Japan. I've come to ask for Naomi's hand. Suddenly, Chie felt the dampness of the night. Does Naomi know anything of your ambitions? We have an understanding. Please don't judge my candidacy by the unseemliness of this proposal. I ask directly because the use of go-betweens takes much time. Either method comes down to the same thing, a matter of parental approval. Alright, so we come to this directly again from question 3. And the question asks, as used in line 1 and 65, directly most nearly means, okay, so here we talk about Akira came directly, breaking all tradition, and had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between, would she have been more receptive? So this seems to say that going directly means not having a go-between. Here, he says, I ask directly because the use of a go-between takes much time. So basically, going directly means no go-between. So which answer choice would match this sentiment? Directly means frankly? Not here. Confidently? No. Without mediation. Without the go-between. That's the answer. And this isn't the answer because that one is. The go-between is the mediation. It says in both places that by going directly, he's breaking tradition and not using a go-between. So without mediation. If you give me your consent, I will become Naomi's Yoshi. And it says down here that a Yoshi is a man who marries a woman of higher status and takes her family's name. Will live in the house of Fuji. Without your consent, I must go to America to secure a new home for my bride. Eager to make his point, he'd been looking her full in the face. Abruptly, his voice turned gentle. I see I've startled you. My humble apologies. I'll take no more of your evening. My address is on my card. If you don't wish to contact me, I'll reapproach you in 2 weeks' time. Until then, good night. He bowed and left, taking her ease with effortless grace like a cat making off with a fish. Mother? Chie heard Naomi's low voice and turned from the door. Has he asked you? The sight of Naomi's clear eyes, her dark brows, gave Chie strength. Maybe his hopes were preposterous. Where did you meet such a fellow? Imagine, he thinks he can marry the Fuji heir and take her to America with all in the snap of her fingers. Chie waited for Naomi's ripe laughter. Naomi was silent. She stood a full half-minute looking straight into Chie's eyes. Finally she spoke. I met him at a literary meeting. Naomi turned to go back into the house, then stopped. Mother? Yes? I mean to have him. Alright, so now we finished the passage, and we can go back through all the answer choices, all the questions, and answer them. So, number 1 and 2 are referring to the whole passage, so we will skip those and wait for last. What reaction does Akira most fear from Chie? Okay. This is one of the paired questions, so we can just look at the sections listed here in question 5 to answer question 4. So let's get started. Line 33, from his voice to refined. Tutoring. His voice was soft, refined. Now, does that answer the question of what reaction does he fears from Chie? Not at all. We can cancel this. Now we go to 49 through 51. You know how children speak so earnestly, so hurriedly, so endearingly about things that that have no importance in an adult's mind? That's how she viewed him as a child. This doesn't say anything about what Akira fears. It just talks about how Chie sees him. That can't be the answer. Now 63 through 64. Please don't judge my candidacy by the unseemliness of this proposal. Okay, now we're getting to something. He is afraid. He's trying to ask her not to judge by how he's asking. This can be an answer. D, line 71 through 72. Eager to make his point, he'd been looking her full in the face. Okay, this doesn't say anything about what he's fearing. So, line 63 through 64, please don't judge my candidacy by the unseemliness of this proposal. So which answer choice matches this? That she will consider his proposal inappropriate. This is exactly what we're looking for. He will mistake his eagerness for immaturity. He never says this. She will consider his unscheduled visit an imposition. Well, he already knows that it's an imposition. He says, forgive my disruption right here when he first meets her. He knows that he's being a disruption. That's not his fear. D, she will underestimate the sincerity of his emotions. He never says this. So A is correct, and it's being supported by C on the next question. Okay, that's another whole paragraph question. Skip. The main purpose of the first paragraph. All right, let's take a look at the first paragraph. Akira came directly, breaking all tradition. Was that it? Had he followed form, had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between, would Chie have been more receptive? So, A, describe a culture. It does not describe the culture at all. B, criticize a tradition. It does not criticize. Question a suggestion. Well, there wasn't a suggestion and it was never questioned. D, analyze a reaction. Well, it does. Would Chie have been more receptive? That's analyzing how Chie reacted to his proposal. That would be the answer here. Okay, so we've already answered question number 8. Now we can move on to question number 9. Question number 9 is proved by question number 10. So we can just look at all those areas and see which one answers the question. Why does Akira say his meeting with Chie is a matter of emergency? Okay. Which choice best? Let's look at line 39. I don't want to trouble you. That doesn't say anything about why his meeting with Chie is a matter of emergency. Line 39 through 42. I don't normally I would approach you more properly, but I received word of a position. I have an opportunity to go to America as a dentist for Seattle's Japanese community. All right. that would answer why it's a matter of emergency, because he's received notice of an opportunity. There we go. Because like he says that he wouldn't do this unless it was time sensitive, and this is why. Let's still look at the other choices just to eliminate them. 58 through 59. Depending on your response, I will stay in Japan. This is more of, this doesn't talk about the urgency. It talks about how important the question is, but not why he must ask it right now, right this second. 72 through 73. I see I've startled you. That has no relevance. It's B, and what does it say? His fears his own parents will disapprove of Naomi. That has nothing to do with anything in the passage. He worries that Naomi will reject him and marry someone else. That was not mentioned in the passage. He has been offered an attractive job in another country. Now that is the answer we're looking for. He knows Che is unaware of his feelings for Naomi. That is never said within the passage. So now we can go back and answer the whole passage questions. Which choice best describes what happens in the passage? One character argues with another character who intrudes on her home. That doesn't happen. One character receives a surprising request from another character. Now that's what happened. One character reminisces about choices she has made over the years. This never happens. One character criticizes another character for pursuing an unexpected course of action. This also does not happen. So that must be the right answer. Which choice best describes developmental pattern of this passage? Careful analysis of a traditional practice. It does not analyze, carefully or not, a traditional practice. A detailed depiction of a meaningful encounter. This could be it. This was an encounter. It was detailed. It was describing. Yes. A definitive response to a series of questions. There was no definitive response to any question in the story. A cheerful recounting of an amusing anecdote. It was not cheerful. It was not amusing. So it must be B. Moving on. In passage 6, in the passage, Akira addresses Chie with affection but not genuine love, objectivity but not complete impartiality, amusement but not marking disparagement, respect but not utter deference. Akira never addresses Chie with any sort of affection. Objectivity but not complete impartiality. Of course, he would not be objective. He's trying to convince her to let him marry her daughter. Amusement but not mocking disparagement. He is never amused at all, or mocking. Like, he's trying to have a mutual respectful conversation to ask for her daughter's hand in marriage. Respect but not utter deference. Now, there we go. He is respectful, but he still speaks his own mind. Well, this will be the entire lesson for today. If you have any questions, I'll be here for another 10 minutes. So please ask away.